Hey y'all, it's Megan. Welcome back to the channel. Glad y'all are here today. Come spend a little time with us today. Andy's going to be doing some work in the garden, and I could not let my tomatoes come to an end until I show y'all how I make my salsa. I've already made a lot of salsa. It hasn't made it to video. So we went through and we picked a lot of the peppers out of the garden. We still have plenty coming in. I've already pickled some, I've froze some, and I've dried some of the poblanos to make the ancho chilies. And we went through and we pretty much cleaned our tomato plants out in the what we call the big garden. Y'all know, if you've been around since the beginning of gardening season, those tomatoes out there, they have suffered all season long, just about it. They were pretty at first, and then they just went downhill from there. So hopefully they're going to come out of there today. So I've got my Blackstone cranked up here. You can do this on a small scale, in like a cast iron pan. When I make just enough for us to eat on, I'll just do it in my cast iron pan. But the Blackstone works phenomenally for roasting vegetables. So I've got about 15 peppers on there, something like that. And I'm going to put about 20-ish tomatoes. Now, I like to make this out of my paste tomatoes if I can, but y'all, they ain't none. They're done, and that's fine. I mean, I've pretty much gotten what we need. But I'm going to just get all these tomatoes up there. Some of them's got bad spots on them. You know, you just gotta, I'll just cut those out once we get done roasting them. And there they go, they're going to dancing. That's so funny when they do that. But yeah, I've already made quite a bit of salsa, and for whatever reason, every time I make it, it just does not, it's not on a video day. Because y'all gotta remember, you know, there are 4 days a week that we don't get catch on film. And well, salsa just happened to keep falling on those days. There we go. Now we're going to add about 4 onions. I'm just going to peel that outer layer off of those. Gonna lay those straight on the Blackstone there. And depending on how much heat you want is what kind of peppers you put in there. I've got a handful of jalapenos that I'm putting in there. So I mean, it's not going to be super hot, but it's going to have a little heat. Or if you don't want any heat, just don't put any hot peppers. Put all banana peppers, or, you know, it's pretty forgiving, just like the chow chow, which I have not got to make yet. I am patiently waiting for my habaneros to make my chow chow. Onions, and then garlic. So the garlic, don't peel it, just lay it on there. Will you peel it on there? We'll peel it later. Just lay it where I can find room. For this much salsa, I want at least 10 cloves of garlic. Alright, we're going to let this roast for a little bit, and then we'll give it a flip. Let's look at our backside of our peppers. We want most of our backside to be blistered and wrinkly like that, so those are not ready to turn just yet. I think this is the worst part about it, having to go through and flip all this stuff one by one. I wanted to put a few of these black beauty peppers in them too, because boy, it gives them a nice, gives it all a nice color. Oh no, he's stuck. Well, I fried the top of that one. Perfect way to use up tomatoes and peppers. So I do want to show y'all something real quick while I'm waiting on my veggies to get done. It feels so good out here. Look at that. 70 degrees. 70 degrees and a nice spider web. Oh, we're taking it in while we can. It's a nice break from the heat, and I can't help but think about my animals, and I'm sure they are all like, oh my gosh, thank goodness. Starting to get done. My tomatoes are getting good and squishy. See, it's got a nice char on a couple of sides. These round tomatoes are a little harder to get that on than the paste tomatoes because they want to roll all over the place, of course. Like that. The peppers, though, I want a really, really good char on my peppers, too. But everything, see, everything's getting a good, really good char on it, and that's what I'm after. The char on the vegetables really does give you a whole different flavor in a good way. At least we like it anyway. See how I'm getting that nice blistering on my peppers there.
Well, I have made the decision that it's time to clean this garden up. This thing has gotten out of control, and I'm fixing to show it to you. The tomatoes are done. The watermelons have got taken over by morning glories. Look at all this. Every bit of that's morning glory. Luckily, the morning glories haven't started flowering and seeding out yet. I'm actually surprised as big as they are. But there's not the first flower or anything on there yet. So luckily we're going to beat the reseeding of them, because my goodness, if I were to let all that right there go to seed, that would be a bunch of seeds replenished back into my garden here. So we don't want that. So what I'm going to work on here is actually I've already picked all the watermelons last night. I'm going to make one more run through them and just see if I can find any more. I'm going to get these watermelons out of here. I'm going to go through and pick probably one more 5-gallon bucket of tomatoes, and those will go to the pigs, because everything that you see in there now is really no good. They're either rotten, they got spots on them, they're just not good. Our tomatoes really didn't do that great this year. We got what we needed, but they didn't do like they have in years past. So all of this half of the garden's going to get cleaned up today. But anyways, it ain't going to get done with me sitting here talking about it. I guess I'm going to get to work. So the way I've got my gates set up for my garden is this is kind of acts like a post. And then this wire just runs right across here. And this opens up and allows me to get in here with the tractor and work. And I've just got these turnbuckles to keep it tight. I know it looks like we probably wasted a bunch of red tomatoes and maybe didn't do nothing with them, but I guess where we've had so much water, a lot of them split and they rotted, and they just didn't do good. But I think this right here is one of the big important parts of keeping at least trying to keep a weed-free garden, is at the end of the season when things are starting to go downhill, you know, they don't want to mess with it no more, so they just let it go. Well, that can be the biggest mistake you can make, because if you let all these weeds that's in here seed out, well, you got a mess on your hands for the following year. Sometimes I don't think it matters. Because we try to do a pretty good job of keeping the weeds from seeding out in our gardens every year. And it's like, when it gets this time of year, man, these weeds, when they start popping up, they just go out of control. They simply go out of control. And as much rain as we've had in a dry year, it's actually a whole lot easier to keep the weeds out, because the weeds don't grow nothing like what they do in a year like we've had this year. And then by this late in the season, all this mulch that we've got put down, it really starts to break down and go away. So opens up the space for a lot more weeds to come in. Especially when your tomatoes are dead and there's nothing out here shading the ground. But I can tell you, next year, we're going to plant our tomatoes in a different location, because we've got a few volunteer tomato plants and then just some random tomato plants we've planted around, and all of those look amazing. But these are our main crop of tomatoes right here. Y'all see what they look like. So I'm starting to wonder if there ain't some type of soil-borne disease that's in this spot right here, and maybe I just need to give it a break for a while.
Now it's time just to go ahead and get everything cut up and into our food processor. This is a pretty straightforward step. We're going to blend all this up together. Now, you can skin your peppers if you want to. I like that charred flavor that's on the skin of these peppers from roasting them, so I actually just leave mine. But it's just, that's personal preference, ever how you want to do it. Now also the texture is your preference. If you want a really chunky salsa, make it that way. If you want a completely pureed salsa, make it that way. Honestly, salsa is one of those beautiful things that you just do it the way you like it. Make it your own. I like mine kind of in between those things. I don't really want any big chunks of pepper in there, but I don't want it completely to nothing either. So now, there's kind of my texture of my peppers. Pretty chopped up pretty small. I'm going to get everything added to my pot before we cut our heat on. So I like to chop up my peppers all together and my onions maybe in with my peppers, but my tomatoes I want to do separately because I do want to make them a little not as chunky.
Well, I ended up with another 5-gallon bucket. That's something else we run into. See how that was a pretty green tomato? But where the vines died back like they did, it exposed all that to this hot blistering sun we've had, and it's made them sun scald, and in turn they just rotted. So we didn't get to salvage many tomatoes at all out of here, but like I said, we got what we needed. And we still got a few volunteers. Let me show you one of the volunteers, how pretty it is. These volunteers, and between Jacob's tomatoes that he has planted, the volunteers that came up on their own, and just a couple that we planted in random spots, we've got plenty of tomatoes still coming. This is the one I keep showing y'all over here in the corner of the garden. And it's made some really nice tomatoes so far, and it's loaded up right now with green ones. There's another watermelon I need to get. Right here's what's left of our watermelon crop. These are the ones I picked last night.
So there's our garlic. Remember, we didn't peel it. We're going to cut that very end off there. That's going to make our peeling come off easier. And actually, once they're roasted, it comes off super easy anyway. But your garlic is going to be soft. And that's what we're looking for. The first time I ever roasted garlic, I was like, wow. Makes it so much easier to peel it. See how easy that comes off? Get all that mixed up. Woo! Don't stick your face in there too far. Got them jalapenos in there. Woo. Now guys, of course, if you're making like a small batch of this, it would be a much faster process because you could throw the tomatoes, the peppers, everything in there at the same time. But we want enough to eat on in the wintertime. Have some fresh salsa. So, I'm going to cut the core out of this. I got me a pig bucket down here. Again, same thing goes for the tomatoes. If you want to slip that skin off, if it'll come off easy enough, you can. But you ain't got to. Some of them that are good and just plumb cooked like that one, you know, it'll slip off pretty easy. So we can get that off. But then there are some, like this one, we didn't get it cooked quite all the way, so we'll probably just leave the skin on that one. I'll just get the core out of it. Let's go ahead. Like I said, now my tomatoes, I'm going to puree them pretty good, about like I'm making sauce. I don't see any giant chunks in there. Because of course, you know, salsa, a lot of that is in the texture. You want it, the texture that you want it. Oh man, it's looking wonderful. Heck yeah. Alright, get the rest of these tomatoes in there.
So one thing I really like about doing this Florida weave technique is I can come in here and cut these strings, pull all this mess off, pull that post out. I'll do this all the way down. Since we use cotton strings, these cotton strings break down and they don't, you know, they'll rot out. Matter of fact, they're halfway rotten now. I'll leave them laying in my garden. Doing this is a whole lot easier than trying to fight a cage. So I'll just keep repeating this process till I got all the posts out. And then I'm gonna come in here with my little bush hog. Well, once I get these watermelons out, come in here with my little bush hog and cut back all this growth. And yes, I realize that these strings could get caught around the bush hog blades and wrap up. But that's the thing about this cotton string. is it's done been out here exposed to the weather for so long that it's pretty brittle. And so I've not had a problem with it yet wrapping around my blades, and I've done it this way for a few years now. So like I said, it hadn't caused me any problem yet. Now, if you're worried about that, or you're going to drive a lawnmower or something through here to mow all this down, then you may want to pull all the string out. That's just to forewarn you about that. However, I do it without pulling the string out, and it's been just fine. But I'm not going to tell y'all to cut all this down without pulling the string out, because you could potentially tear up something if you got all this string wrapped around a bunch of blades. But like I said, has not caused a problem for me. And if it does cause a problem for me, I'll just deal with that problem when it gets here.
Dump the rest of my tomatoes in here. All right, boy, that looks great. Now it's time to add in the rest. I'm gonna cut my heat on low. Now remember, if you're making this just for you to have to eat right now, I'll post the main recipe, which is actually the small batch recipe that you can make if you're just gonna eat it right now. But just remember, the longer it sits, the better it's gonna get. This should be equivalent to the juice of like 3 limes, maybe. I like to drink lime juice, that's why I have it. I like to make, instead of lemonade, I like limeade. So there's still a couple of big chunks in there, but it'll be okay. Alright, put that in there. We're gonna do a couple big old tablespoons of salt. Ooh. I got carried away. Now with my paste tomatoes, I didn't really have to cook this down. It wasn't too watery. And this is actually not looking too bad. So I may not really have to cook this down either. That'd be great. But I did make one batch with just regular tomatoes, and it was really watery, so I did have to cook it down quite a bit.
Now with these tomatoes gone, it's gonna make it a whole lot easier to get in here and pick our peas. We've only picked a couple of messes off of them. I've got some in here that I've let dry, and I'm just gonna save them for seed. And then we'll start picking these other ones that's just about ready. I sure can't wait to see this cleaned up. I'm one of those that likes everything all neat and pretty. And when my garden gets to this stage right here, I have to yank it out. I'm done with it. All right, there it is. All the watermelons and all the tomatoes are out. When I get done with this, the only thing left to be standing is that okra right there. Right here's the watermelons. One more look at those. I'm pretty sure I've got a rotten one in there. I believe it might be that one. But that's fine. The pigs will eat it, or the chickens won. Chickens love watermelons. But we've picked a bunch out of here. The kids and Megan, man, they have ate a ton of watermelon out of this patch. I think having the watermelons up here close to the house has really been a great benefit, because we was able to keep a lot better check on everything. We did good keeping the weeds out of them for a while, but we started getting rain like every single day. And at that point, the weeds just got out of control everywhere. Not just here. I feel like they're out of control everywhere. I believe that's about the prettiest crop of morning glories I've ever had. I mean, just look at them. My goodness. And pigweed. Hate this stuff too. But luckily, none of that's went to seed yet either, so all that'll be took care of here in just a few minutes.
Alright, so while I was getting everything cleaned up, I went ahead, I did let this simmer. It's been simmering, I don't know, 20 minutes or so. But I want to give it a try real quick, and then we're gonna put some. We'll can a little bit, and I'll keep a little bit out for us to eat fresh, because we love salsa, especially since I started making it this way. One thing that roasting the vegetables really does, that I've noticed anyway, is it takes that raw flavor out of it. That's one thing that Andy and the kids didn't care much for, the raw flavor of the tomatoes and the peppers and things, and it really does help with that, and letting it simmer a little bit. It just really has a really deep flavor. Something else you can do is add a little bit of cilantro if you have some. I happen to not have any right now. I've already used it all. What I had out in the garden has dried up. But I can always add, that's something you can always add later if you want to. But I'm going to give it a quick taste. Give me a little bit on my chip here. Got a great flavor. Apparently those jalapenos do got plenty of heat in them. Got a little burn to it. So, I'm going to go ahead and get this into my clean jars. I'll see how much is left after I fill these 4. Maybe a little closer. Maybe I won't make such a mess. But you can see, I mean, it's not too watery. You want a little bit of juice in it. At least we do, anyway. Jacob and Andy's favorite thing to do with the salsa is just get the juice on the chip, and then all they leave me, they soak up all the juice and they just leave me the chunks. That is their favorite way to eat salsa. Oh yeah, that looks mighty fine. I really love the flavor of the roasted tomatoes in the salsa. Ended up making 5 pints. We're gonna let these water bath for 15 minutes and then they'll be ready to store. Once that comes up to a good rolling boil, we'll start our time. Now, get the rest of this out. Well, I really can't wait to just dig into this once it gets cooled off. I'm going to tell you what, that is some good salsa, even if I did make it. That is, even without cilantro. You know, this is something new to me this year. Something I decided to try, and once I tried it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is it.
Oh, there's one I missed. There's a yellow one I missed. Dang it. Look, there's one. I can't believe I missed them yellow ones. Right here's one I didn't miss. I didn't hit that one. Goodness gracious, there's all kinds of watermelons back here in this part I missed. So it looks like I hit this one, but I think if we eat it right now, it'd be fine. But you see it just busted it open. So that one will probably be a treat today. I believe this is another yellow one. That's good. I didn't get all the yellow ones, so that's a good thing. And it actually looks like there's one or two out there in the pasture. So about the only thing I know to do with this mess right here is just go get the weed eater and start chopping it down. Looky here. Golly, what a watermelon. That was leaning straight up against the fence like that. Ha! And look right here. Boy, I didn't look real good, did I? It was so overgrown I couldn't see them. Looks like most of them was in this fence line. I don't see no more. I believe that's it. Alright, I'll get these watermelons out of here. I need to go around inside the pasture and get that other one that's growing on the other side of the fence. Then I'm going to go get my weed eater and get all this right here cleaned up. Just knock it off the fence with a weed eater and it should be fine. But I'm going to take and till up everything that we've cleaned up today and sow it in a cover crop. I think this year I'm going to use some Super Bee Facilia. I've never used that before. I don't know anything about it. All I know is it's supposed to be fast growing and it's supposed to be good for pollinators. So it'll be a new one on me. I don't know what to expect using that cover crop. However, I bought a bag of it from Hoss Tools. I know he talks good about it. However, he's a lot farther south than we are. So it may not do good up here. I don't know. But we've only got a short time frame anyways before it'll be time to plant our winter cover crops. And so once that time gets here, I'll just till under whatever I plant out here. I'll till it up, plant my wintertime cover crop, and all of this will be laid by for the wintertime until next spring. But I'm looking forward to trying that Super Bee Facilia because it looks like it's pretty. You know, the pretty blooms on it and everything. I don't know if it'll have time to bloom in the short amount of time I'm going to have it on here, but it's going to be interesting to try it out. And plus, right now at the moment, it's the only seed that I've got that I can use for this space that really makes sense to use. I've got some iron and clay pea seeds. If I had some buckwheat, I'd probably sow buckwheat on it because that makes a really good short-term cover crop. But I don't have any more buckwheat seed left, and I'm not going to buy some just for this little patch. So I want to try that Super Bee Facilia. I bought it to try this year anyways, and I just haven't had the opportunity to do that. I'll take this weed eater and clean up this mess here. Then we'll go to work on the other side. Look what I found. Oh, darn. I thought it was a good cantaloupe. Ew. And it's a nasty, rotten cantaloupe. Found another one. Don't that look much better? Man, that looks so much better. I even come through here with a weed eater and weed eated all this grass that's growing through the walking path. Next thing on my list is to cut what's left of that corn. I'll haul it to the cows. Had to weed eat this walking path down because it gotten out of control. So check out these walking onions. These are the ones that I replanted off of the, there's a piece of grass. But these are the ones that I replanted off of the bublets that come on here. Right there, there's some more of them, need to plant those. But they're doing good, and they've apparently been liking this spot and really liking this weather we've had. So, like I said, next thing on the list, I'm gonna cut all this right here with a machete. I'll take it and feed it to the cows. This here was a new corn that we had tried this year. Y'all know we still love Honey Select. Looks like I might have missed that ear. That's a good looking ear. We still love the Honey Select, don't get me wrong, and I'll always plant Honey Select. I think the name of it was Burpee Triple Crown Bicolor. And I will definitely be planting some again. I was surprised at how good it was. I don't know, I've eaten Honey Select for so long, I just kind of have my doubts when it comes to any kind of other sweet corn. But that just goes to show that every once in a while you need to get outside of your comfort zone and try something different. Because man, now it had a different flavor than Honey Select does. I don't think it was quite as sweet. Had a little more of a corn flavor. But man, it was so good. So I was in Tractor Supply the other day and they had their seeds on the discount rack for like $1 a pack. So we bought a couple of packs and I've got them for next year now. But yeah, once again, like I said, it just goes to show, you know, I know especially for people around here, it's like you get stuck in that specific variety that you like, whether it be cucumbers or green beans or sweet corn or whatever. But it just never hurts to get outside of your box and eat something different, because you may find out you like something different. It's just like with these green beans here. We always grew jade green beans. Never would touch no other kind of green bean. Till we decided that we didn't want to bend over and pick jades anymore because they're a bush bean. So we planted these Kentucky Blue Wonder pole beans. Found out we really like those. So who knows what other varieties are out there that we really like that we don't know we like. And you don't know unless you try them. So it's good to experiment with different varieties every once in a while. And that's a good thing about where we live. We get more than one shot at growing something every year. Most of the things we grow in the garden, you can grow it 2 or 3 different times. You get 2 or 3 different plantings out of it. Like with this sweet corn we've got, and we planted a different variety every time. Oh, the other variety we planted out there in Jacob's garden was called Devotion, I think. It was a white sweet corn. Now it was really good. So I think I may be planting a little bit of that next year too. But we've worked it out this year that we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 5 different succession plantings of sweet corn. And I feel like we've been able to eat, once it started coming in on the first patch, it's like we've been able to eat sweet corn, fresh sweet corn the whole time here. And that's been really nice. I know not all growing areas can do that. Not all zones can do that. But I think if you live in a zone where you can do that, you should really take advantage of it. Y'all eat your heart out. They don't mind rotten tomatoes. Come on! Like candy to you, ain't it? Y'all act like you ain't never had nothing to eat before.
Alright, the sauce is done. So now we'll just get them out and let them cool. Hopefully all the jars will seal and they'll be ready to keep and enjoy till next year. Sure did turn out pretty.
Well, I see you got yours done, didn't you?
Yep.
It looks pretty.
I think so too. It's good.
Did you leave any out to eat on?
Yes. Yes, I did, dear. Just for you.
Just for me? I'm sure just for me. Jacob will be eating that stuff.
No, he tried it. He said I made it a little too spicy this time.
Really?
Well,
if he thinks it's spicy, I'll probably think it's good. Let's give this stuff a try.
I stood over here just a bunch a while ago.
Man, ain't that good? Golly. You can't buy that in the store, can you? Golly, that is good. It does got a kick to it too. I like that.
Yeah, I ate a bunch while ago.
God, it does got a kick. It just hit me right there. Mmm.
Yeah, I haven't put that many jalapenos in there, so they must be hot. Because I ain't eaten none yet. I ain't.
Mmm. That's good.
Thank you.
You doing good on that one.
I tried.
That'll clean your sinuses out.
Oh, yeah. But anyways, guys, I guess that's going to about wrap up today's video. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Hope you might learned a little something. Until we see y'all on the next one.
Y'all have a good one.
Have a good one. Hey, I got flour too, maybe?
Yeah, ain't that pretty? I don't need no supper. Just sit here and eat
It'd
this.
be good on some tacos.
Oh man, it would be good on tacos.